This is Motorsport Radio.
Awesome, right?
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. It is the Superbike Show here on Motorsport Radio once again. My name is Lester. Thank you very much for tuning in or listening live or downloading the show. We're talking this evening about mostly MotoGP, what went on in the first round of the championship, all the injuries to give you updates on, and also Moto2 and Moto3, and all of the latest, juiciest, hottest gossip that's been swirling around since Sunday, since the weekend, including any arguments and disagreements and who said what about stuff and whose tweets got deleted, etc. Might dive into and any breaking news that happens this evening as well. So, stay with us. It's the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio here on Motorsport, the Superbike Show. It's sorry, I've had some paracetamol this evening anyway, so I'm sort of kind of not with it 100%. But anyway, hopefully, to guide us through what happened over the weekend, our expert panel will be a bit more with it. Jay King back on the show once again. Hello, good evening, Jay.
Nice to see you. You're obviously using the word excellent panel quite loosely there, but it's great to be back. Very exciting first weekend in MotoGP, especially with that sprint race as well. Made for some really good racing.
Yeah, and that as well. There was that first event which literally took the wind out of all the critics' sails. Now.
It was a bit fanatic, and even the main race was a bit carnage as well, but I'm sure we'll be talking about that later as well.
Indeed, yes. And also joining us once again, it is Lewis Ray, who's going to try and rest his vocal cords in anticipation for a big commentary weekend this weekend, where Lewis will be commentating on up to 50 races live here on Motorsport Radio. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be one or two races throughout the day. Monday looks to be quite a long day if any races get pushed back. But yeah, we're commentating on a Monday, commentating on a weekday for the first time. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
it's going to be different. Yeah, it's just a normal work day. It's not even a bank holiday either. So always fun.
I know. I'd rather you than me. That is going to be a lot of talking for a lot of races.
Yes, he will.
I'll have to come in and help out for a few races.
We'll see what happens. I mean, Jay will be racing as well there. We'll talk about his own racing exploits as well. Back on a. Have you got a new bike, or what bike are you on this year?
No, we've got I only swapped bike halfway through last year, so it's the same bike. We've made some big modifications to our Moto team bike. It looks totally different now, but pit bike's exactly the same.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll get on to asking you more about it later, I suppose. And also, talking about new bikes, Lewis, you've got a new bike. Yes, Lewis also does a bit of racing now and again. And, he took delivery of a new bike. Was it new or second-hand new?
Second hand new to me.
Yeah,
all the internals are basically new. So yeah. And
you've already been around Knockhill, giving it a test and stuff. What bike is it, and how was it?
It's a Kawasaki ER650, so it's slightly bigger than the 300 that I was on last season. But yeah, I mean, the bike's quick. We only managed to do 10 laps on Sunday's test throughout the track being mixed conditions, which we didn't want to take a brand new bike on, to then Knockhill giving us some snow. So then it was really iffy if we wanted to even ride in that. And then a slight oil leak in the bike kind of stopping the rest of the day's running. So I think the longest run I did all day was 7 laps. But yeah, the bike's fun, it's quick. So just get ready for the first round and get everything fixed up and ready, yeah.
Well, yes, let us know about progress, and you'll be racing that at Knockhill in the, what's the championship name called? Scottish Motor, what is it?
It's two championships technically. It's the KMSC Championship, which is not Killzone Championship, and the Scottish Championship as well.
Fair enough. And hopefully, what was that?
What other bikes will you up against in your championship and that? So will it be Suzuki SVs and things like that?
Suzuki SVs. I believe there's 1 or 2 R7s this season, and there's 2 or 3 Aprilia 660s. So they're pretty quick, the Aprilias.
Yeah, I think it's an up-and-coming class now, that sort of bikes now, with the 600s dying. I think it's definitely maybe something BSB could look at in the future for that sort of class. Now there's a range of bikes to choose from.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, to be honest. It seems to be definitely capacity that the manufacturers seem to be making at the moment is the twin-cylinder 650s, 700cc's. So, yeah, it's definitely a class which has risen in the past 3 or 4 years.
But I have just seen that Kawasaki have now brought out a new 4-cylinder Kawasaki 400 now, which I think that's going to be an awesome little bike.
Yeah, I don't think that bike obviously will be legal to race in the likes of Junior Supersport.
No.
I don't know what class. I don't even think it would be able to fit into a BSB class at the moment with it just being a 400 4-cylinder. So, yeah, maybe there'll be a class made for it.
Yeah, maybe they could make a one-make class out of it, because it'd be a brilliant class for the in-between, like British Talent Cup and 600, because that is a big jump between them two. So it'd make a really good in-between class for them two.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, in the likes of Australia, even Moto America, the twin classes have risen as well, and they've even joined them in with the Supersport. Obviously, over here this season in British Supersport, we're going to have the next generation regulations similar to what's happened in World Superbikes, and even they trialed it with the Triumph, I think, last season with the 765 engine at some round. So, yeah, it looks to be a good year for Supersport. Although 600 seem to have died, they've certainly found a way to be able to revitalise them.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely all sorts of cylinders and different bikes out there now. So hopefully they keep it going and it gets back to the 600 race. And we know World Supersport has been a lot better this year.
Well, talking about junior racing and stuff, a couple of hours ago, just before the show started, an announcement from Rossi Banham on the internet, who says that he's really pleased once again to finally announce his plans that he will be in the Pirelli National Junior Superstock class once again this year. So that's good news for him. Racing is bright pink and turquoise leathers and bike. And hopefully he'll be at some Fab rounds as well. Maybe this weekend, where once again you can hear live coverage. This will be a really busy weekend on Motorsport Radio for live racing, because we've not only got 50 live races from Fab at Lid, but we've also got live from Texas, the NTT IndyCar Series live coverage as well on the Sunday afternoon / I forget off the top of my head exactly what time it is. So if you're a fan of racing, if you've got not much else to do on a Sunday night, then just leave Motorsport Radio on playing for some live motor racing all evening. Sounds good. Anyway, right, so talking about I suppose MotoGP then, and the big headlines, Lewis.
Yeah, so the biggest headlines from the weekend are mainly injuries, to be honest. There was quite a lot of injuries this weekend. I believe it was 12 riders in total that have been injured pre-season and in this first weekend at Portimao, altogether across the three classes. So, yeah, quite a few riders injured. The biggest crash of them all was Paul Espargaro in free practice 2. He crashed at turn 10, I believe, on one of his outlaps with a cold tyre. It flicked him up in the air, sent him to the gravel, and he is now in hospital with a jaw fracture and a fractured vertebrae as well. So big injuries for Paul, and he's on the mend at the moment. Marc Marquez was on pole position for the sprint and the main MotoGP race at the weekend, which came as a massive surprise to many, many people across the paddock. And it was also the first sprint race in MotoGP history, with Pecco Bagnaia taking the race win in the first ever sprint. Marc Marquez was on the podium as well in third position, with Jorge Martin in second. It seemed that in the sprint race it was red mist for everyone, and in the MotoGP main race it was just as hectic, with Pecco Bagnaia also taking the race victory from Maverick Vinales. And the biggest talking point, of course, was Marc Marquez and Miguel Oliveira having a crash on lap 2 at turn 3 with Marc Marquez locking the front wheel and crashing into Miguel Oliveira, but I'm sure we'll get into that later. And in Moto2, Philip Salich was on pole position with Pedro Acosta and Aaron Canet having an epic duel for the race victory, with Pedro Acosta coming out on top of that. In Moto3, Sasaki was on pole position, the same as the first race last season, actually, with Daniel Holgado taking the race win. And there was even a crash after the checkered flag in Moto3 with Joe Kelso hitting into the back of the race winner after the checkered flag, and he suffered from a broken leg. So, yeah, a lot of injuries this weekend in MotoGP, and something that we don't usually see.
Yeah, it might just be, I don't know what the, I don't know, the first race back, and everyone just maybe a bit too eager to please, I suppose, maybe. Or
I think it could be a little bit down to, it's the first time we've gone to a different track for the first round in a long while, and normally Qatar very open and wide and flowing sort of thing, where you don't normally see a lot of crashes at Qatar. The track is really wide at Qatar, where at Portimao it's very up down hills. There's a few stop-start sections, so maybe everyone being a bit keen with a different track as well. It just made all for those coming togethers that there was. So, yeah, I think it could be a little bit down to the track and everyone just a bit eager to impress in the first round. Yeah,
it means, of course, that amongst the people out for the next round, Marc Marquez, Oliveira...
We also forgot to mention in the sprint race that Bastianini also is out for the next round, I believe, as well.
He's got a fractured shoulder blade.
Yeah, so... That's massive loss for him, because I think some of us would have put him in championship contention, but obviously that's going to hit it massive. But with these sprint races, I don't think this is going to be the end we're going to see of injuries. So it's a lot of more stress on the riders and the mechanics. So I think we're going to see a lot more incidents like this throughout the season.
Okay, well, let's start off with the with that sprint race, because beforehand, a lot of people, and I have to hold my hand up and say myself that I wasn't looking forward to it. Formula One did it, and a lot of people just kind of dismissed it as a bit of a gimmick. And yeah, I suppose more racing can produce more racing, I suppose, more stuff and excitement. And, well, maybe I think we were just all being, people like me, just a bit too sceptical, because, well, it was actually a pretty decent race in the end, Lewis.
Yeah, it was the best MotoGP race, best opening laps that I've seen in a while, actually. Everyone just went for it, and it was almost like everyone had red mist, to be honest. There were a lot of rides where I would like to say overly aggressive, especially on the first couple of laps. I mean, we've seen the likes of Joan Mir diving up the inside of Fabio Quartararo mid-corner and almost taking them out, which ended up Quartararo being out of the points by the end of the sprint race, because he was down in 10th, and in sprint races, only the top 9 get points. So, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the sprint race, to be honest. It was better racing than what I even thought it was going to give. And at the start, when it was first announced, I wasn't looking forward to it either, but it's certainly grown. I mean, the first couple of months, certainly whenever we've seen the likes of Marc Marquez even getting on the podium in the sprint race, where it just proves that different names can be up there and can spice up the championship that much more.
Exactly, yeah. It's about time Marc Marquez found a podium and did well. But it wasn't to last long, was it? But Jay, what did you make of the sprint race?
I was always for the sprint race. The only people I felt sorry for was the mechanics a bit, because obviously a lot more people are going to chuck it down the road in that sprint race, and it's going to give them a hell of a lot more work. And especially even worse, if they crash it in qualifying, they've got that short period of time to get the bike ready for the sprint race. So apart from them, I was really looking forward to the sprint race. It seems like more races the better for everything at the moment, because we only used to have 2 races in BSB and now we have 3.
Why not have 5?
Yeah, I was really keen for the sprint race, so I'm happy to see it, and it was a lot better race than I think anyone thought it would be.
Yeah, well, I suppose, maybe potentially that might, I don't know, be a bit of a double-edged sword, because now we've had such a high bar for sprint racing. The next sprint race that we have, if it isn't as good, well, we're all going to slag it off and be like, this is crap and it's terrible. It's not, probably won't be, it just won't be as good. But
I think you're just going to get those people. You're going to get those people who know, like on the Sunday race, I ain't going to last the distance here. Where they just think Saturday race, right? It don't matter here. I'm just going to go for it. Even if they know they're not in the championship title, it's going to make them look good for next season and signing for other teams. Even if I know it doesn't count as a Grand Prix win, but it still looks good if you cross that line first on Saturday. So I think anyone who's like, Sunday race ain't going to happen. They're just going to go for it. I think it's going to get really interesting when we have mixed conditions. So maybe the Saturday sprint race is wet and the Sunday is dry, or it's the other way round, because we're going to see up and down results then. It could be a complete opposite end results. But yeah, that'll be interesting when we get that. A wet Saturday and a dry Sunday. That is when it's going to be its best. Interesting.
Okay, so overall, out of 10, Lewis, for you, the verdict on the first ever MotoGP sprint race?
I'm going to give it an 8. I don't want to say, obviously there is room for improvement. I mean, going back to what you said about it being such a high bar, I actually thought going into the opening round that it would be the exact opposite, because Qatar, every single year that we've went there for the opening round, it's always produced close racing, usually a last lap battle, and if not, it's close between the top 10. I believe with the closest top 10 finish there a couple of years ago. So I was expecting the exact opposite, but it was a great race.
Fair enough. And Jay, for you, out of 10?
Yeah, I'll probably give it an 8, 9 again. It'd just be interesting to see if the riders carry on taking this objective onto the Saturday race and they still carry on going for it, or after what we've seen after this Saturday race, will they just pull it back a bit and go, hang on a bit, we have got a Sunday race, we can't be taking each other out. But it'd be interesting to see what it's like.
Potentially, I don't know. I've not drawn any final conclusions. Maybe I might at the end of the season. I'm keeping an open
it's
mind.
It's my stupidity here. Where is round 2? Where are we next?
Lewis?
Argentina.
Yes.
Next.
Argentina, that's it. So we haven't had that close a race in there. Well, it hasn't been too bad, but I think it's going to be pretty the same there as well, really, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
Yeah,
last year we had the great Aprilia battle, didn't we, between Martin and Espargaro. So, we could be having some more close battles there. We obviously know those last 2 corners at Argentina are well known for some dodgy moves, because we had the Rossi Marquez a few years ago, and there was the Iannone and Dovizioso taking each other out. So, that you could see it all going down to those last 2 corners again in Argentina.
Yeah, in Argentina, it's a completely different circuit. It's a low grip track compared to Portimao, so we're going to see something completely. Well, I was like to say something completely different, but I think we're going to see something pretty similar. But tire choice wise, we might see everyone just going with pretty equal tire choices, and everyone kind of going to the same, like we've seen in previous years. That Argentina's not really been too much changes in that, and obviously the likes of Aprilia, they won there last year, so you think that they could be right up there, especially Espargaro, who, in my opinion, had quite a disappointing weekend overall, both in the sprint and in the main race, and the feature race, whatever you want to call it. So, I think definitely Argentina, you should be able to pick up the pace and pick up the points in the championship to get right back in there.
It definitely feels a bit like Vinales is the number 1 man in Aprilia now. It's not the same. Espargaro's stepped back a bit, but Vinales was very impressive this weekend. So, and we know when he's feeling confident, he's one of the best on the grid, and that's going to give him loads of confidence this weekend. So, he's like one of my dark horses for the championship. Also, I thought he's got a lot of slack, like bad press over the years. I think Alex Marquez did really well this weekend, obviously being on a Ducati. I think he's going to have a good season as well, because last year he did crash a lot. I think he's going to be a lot more consistent on the Ducati this year.
Yeah, even from pre-season testing, Alex Marquez looked great, to be honest. If anything, he was just trying to get some of that confidence away away from him, not let it get in his head, especially from the journalists and the media, because they're really trying to hype him up, that he was just trying to calm everyone down and try to say that don't expect too much, we'll just see how it goes. But even in free practice and qualifying in the races, he was right up there, he was showing his pace, and it looks like it's the happiest I think I've ever seen him since he's won that Moto2 championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone who goes on Honda these days has a bit of a bad time of it. So I think it's been a really good change for him, and I think he's going to have a good season. I think definitely see some podiums from him this year, and you never know, maybe might get that first MotoGP win.
Well, just want to move on next to just talking about the some of the actual main race itself. Incidentally, just while we're, as we are live, if anyone is tuned in, hello and welcome. The Superbike Show here on Motorsport Radio. Get in touch, have your say, and join the comments box below, and we'll read them out. And got any questions or any reactions to stuff? Hello to Duncan Fitchett. Luke Fitchett Racing as well. He says, hello, boys. See you at Lid.
That's Luke Fitchett's dad. He'll be competing in the 70s this weekend.
Well, Luke Fitchett will probably be doing this.
Yeah, probably. I would say he's probably one of the favourites for the 70 championship this year. I'd say with Henry McCarthy probably as well. I don't know if Ethan Sparks is making I'm not sure if Ethan's making a third year of it, so they're probably going to be two of the favourites.
I don't know what the entry list is like. We get to find out when they come out on track, basically.
Oh, do you?
So we're like, so he's...
And the amount of people that ask me, so who's entered for this weekend? Because especially the 140 people, they all want to know if Rossi's going to be there and that. And they're always asking me, but you know exactly the same as me. I don't know until I turn up in the Holden area.
Well, yeah, I mean, I asked the championship organiser, Roger Keys, is there any...
entry list?
Yeah, anyone we need to sort of, is Brad Ray going to do a surprise appearance? Because he does sometimes, and he lives in Lid. So, and even Roger doesn't know half the time until the...
I think Brad's out in Spain at the moment. I'm not 100% sure. I have seen him being tested
him and,
on his World Superbike.
Mackenzie, I think, are doing something.
Yeah. Is the next World Superbike round... I'm sorry, I don't know my calendar at all. Is the next World Superbike round in Europe? Will that be Brad's first round?
Yeah, it's in us in the next round, and right now they're at a test at Aragon, I believe it is.
Yeah.
To test just for the first weekend.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of their cycling and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think he's been out on trials bike with Taylor Mackenzie as well, but obviously Taylor's out with Track Vision now, so be on the way to Argentina, I guess.
Cool. Luke Fitchett will be riding in the Mini GP 50 and Mini GP 70 category this year.
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, a lot of the youngsters are doing that this year. Nowadays, it used to just be they'd go from one class to the other, but you do see a lot of them still doing both now. I'm sure that will be the same for Archie O'Brien as well. I'm sure he'll be doing both as well.
Archie will be back,
I've also seen, because obviously I've been getting all the profile pictures for you, Lester, and they've been writing, and there are some people doing 3 classes this year, so they're going to be, I don't know how long that will last, especially this weekend at Lid.
Yeah,
that's going to be really busy, because they'll be doing, my maths is terrible. 6. How many races will they be doing?
9.
No, wait.
9 races this weekend. 3. So, yeah, I know youngsters will keep going, but that's going to be knackering. They're going to definitely be asleep at school on Tuesday, I know that. Leicester's still trying to work out the maths.
A lot of races, yeah. Well, there are a lot of races.
Yeah,
it's been so weird trying to figure out stuff because for the first time ever they're racing on a Monday, not even a bank holiday, racing on a Monday, it's completely messed my head up because I'm like, well,
yes.
Do I turn up on the Friday still? When do I need to turn up? What's going on there?
So, yeah, I think I saw some of them are doing AC Pro, Elites, and Metrokit 50, so 3 classes. And
so this is why sometimes we just wait until they come out on track and then we actually just see who's on what and who's doing what and then who's swapped bikes or something like that and who's forgot to attach a transponder and, yada, yada.
All those wheel changes the parents are going to have to do is going to be unbelievable.
Should be fun. Anyway, so live racing this weekend. Fab Racing Mini Bikes British Championship from Lydd on the South Coast. You can actually attend if you're in the area, or if you're not in the area, you can still attend if you want. It's free to get in, and you can come and watch the next generation of BSB stars and GP stars, or you can stay at home and listen to the next generation of MotoGP commentators. Just saying. Anyway.
Hopefully.
Right, so back to GP.
I know Casey O'Gorman will be there because his dad put a post up, so you'll see Casey.
Oh, really? What did his dad say?
His dad said that, yeah. Well, his Facebook racing page says that. I'm sure his dad is the one who looks after it.
Yeah. So he just said he's turning up at Lydd. Yeah,
he said he's coming to Fab because he's come to support his little brother, who I believe races in the AC Pros.
Yeah, Ollie O'Gorman. That'll be good to see how he progresses this year. Lots of people returning to Fab all the time, even after they've graduated and gone on to do big things, I suppose. So lots of people are always welcome. It's not just a kids mini bike championship as well. There's pit bike racing, and which is arguably expanding this year, which is where Jay comes in. There's categories for the gentleman rider.
Yes, moto team and sidecars.
Which I think you've got a team in moto team anyway. What is moto team anyway? Just for the people who don't know about Fab and don't know about moto team, and even for us, because it's confusing for even us to understand exactly half the time. Because
I'll try and make it as easy for you commentators this year as I possibly can.
Thanks.
Yeah, been told that every year for 6 years. But just briefly give us...
I'm doing my best. Right, so there's two classes. There's open and standard. Obviously, open they're all 125cc engines, all 50cc two-strokes. There's two classes. There's standard and there's open. Obviously, open you can modify as much as you like. Standard, you just have to leave it alone. You can have more than one rider in your team. So in our team, there's me and Sean. You can share that bike as much as you possibly want, but you can ride it independently as well. I have given you team names this year, so you haven't got to keep guessing who's on the bike. You just reference it as team names, and I've written the riders who are in the team as well. So you can say, that is blah, 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 and that's them riding for them. So I've made it as easy as possible for you this season.
So before round one, that's the plan. By the end of the first day, I've got full faith.
I will go into the timing office with Roger and Rob, and I will sit down with them and say, right, this rider name, that is his team name. So it will come up on your board and you can see the team name. Well,
if we just call them by team names, and the last time I spoke to Roger, he expressed some concern about some of the team names seem to be a little bit...
There's no rude ones there. Don't worry.
Which will make a change for some.
Our team name, if you must know, is Pinky and the Brain, and I can tell you, I'm definitely not the Brain.
Fair enough. Well, I think you missed the trick there by not calling it some like Team Sonic or something.
No, it's got to be like what the other rider agrees with.
All right, fair enough.
But anyway, so I've made it as easy. We're bored in the audience here now, so I've made it as easy as possible for you.
Anyway, thank you. We will talk more about Fab Racing and our live coverage of it a bit later. But back to GP, and what else were we talking about? Oh yeah, the actual main race itself, race 2. Oh, is it race 2? Or is it just the main race? What are we calling it?
I'll just say it's the Grand Prix race, isn't it? So it's sprint and main race. So main race.
Until they add a third race, and then it'll be the feature race. Well, I mean, if they've added 2 races, might as well just expand for 3.
I know. Well, that means BSB would have to go to 4 races a weekend.
Why not 5? Get good value for money.
I know.
Anyway, and charge people more money. Yeah, exactly. Friday races. Or a Monday race. There you go. Never mind. So, anyway, the main race, the traditional main race on the Sunday, Lewis, and it was talk us through from your point of view.
Yeah, it was probably the most it was the most controversial part of the weekend. I think that's fair to say. Pekka Bagnaia won the race. He took technically the double this weekend. The first ever rider to do it, obviously win the sprint race and the main race in his first attempt. Maverick Vinales joined him on the podium with Marco Bezzecchi in third. And there was quite a few riders missing from the final results. 14 finishers in the main race, and all the drama started really on lap 2, I believe it was, at turn 3, with Marc Marquez locking his front tyre up and almost crashing out Jorge Martin, and then knocking off the home rider Miguel Oliveira, the only Portuguese rider on the grid. So the Portuguese fans were very, very annoyed. Marc Marquez has apologised to Oliveira and both the Portuguese fans, so he's tried his best, but it looks certainly from the social media reaction that that's just not good enough. He has been given a double long lap penalty, which he will serve at the next race, which he's fit, because in the crash I believe it is the first metacarpal inside his hand that he broke, so he had to get surgery on that, so he will miss the second round. So he's out this weekend, and he will get the double long lap penalty whenever he returns to racing.
We did joke about it, I think, last week or the week before, Lewis, that he might be, if he doesn't adapt his riding style, i.e. not keep crashing into people, then, his arm could fly off. Because it's like, in my mind anyway, it's hanging by a thread. It probably is, I don't know. But as soon as I heard that he's, having surgery on his hand, I'm thinking, we've just cursed him. He's what's it in his hand or some, I don't know, metacarpal is what he said.
Yeah, first metacarpal, so I believe that's his thumb in his hand that he's broke. So a part of his thumb in easy terms.
Fair enough. So not actually a proper arm thing yet, but still he is out of the of this weekend's race, and interesting one. Jay, did you watch the? I'm sure you watched the race live. Yes. What did you make of what happened?
I don't know if any of you noticed, but he nearly did it on the opening lap as well. He went flying up the inside as well. Andy hit them. Martin went to cut it back, and he nearly came off on the way out of that corner as well. So he can't say that he hadn't learned. He should have learned his lesson, because I said on the first lap he went barreling up the inside to get to first place. I think I did. Initially, I thought when I saw him do that on the first lap, I thought he's doing that because he doesn't want to let the Ducatis get away. If he lets the Ducatis get away, then he's got no hope. So I thought he was doing that just to try and slow everyone down. But clearly, he wasn't. He was doing that, but obviously there was a problem with the Ducati going in that corner, because then 2 laps later he just did it again, and obviously nearly wiped out 2 people, but did just wipe out Oliveira in the end. He kind of ended Martin's race as well, because he got pretty much sent to the back of the field and then crashed trying to come back through it anyway. So he didn't learn his lesson from the first lap. I'm the biggest Marquez fan in the world, but you can't defend what he did at the end of the day. So it wasn't great. He's trying to override a bike that really isn't working. If you look at the other Hondas, they are all at the back. I think he's going to be having a word with his brother to say, come on, you need to get me this Ducati right now.
Overriding, but in the sprint race, I mean, it seemed to work all right for him. I don't know, but
it did okay. I think he was struggling a bit in the sprint race. You could see where he was losing the time on a lot of places but gaining it back on others, and I think he was being too ambitious in the race, just trying to ride something that wasn't good enough for his ability, shall we say. So I still think it's controversial, but I still think Marquez is the best rider out there. And if he was on a Ducati, he'd be winning by miles. But there you go. That's my opinion.
Well, Lewis did theoretically put him on a Ducati for the future. Something that you'd like to actually see, I'm guessing, Lewis.
Like Jay said, it would be almost a dream combination, but. Yeah, it just depends if Ducati would necessarily want him with them. Obviously, they would want him, but they have 8 fantastic riders already, and
that's
I don't know.
The problem. I don't think he would be able to walk straight into the factory team.
Yeah.
They're not going to get rid of Pecco, and obviously I can imagine Bastianini is on a little bit of a contract at the moment. They're not going to get rid of him after a year. So the only ride I could see him getting, Zarco's getting a bit old now. That'd be the only ride I could get him. Would Marquez drop down to a second-tier team? I know they're all on factory bikes, but he's not going to be in with the main team. Would he do that? I don't know. He's definitely obviously going to get a big pay cut if he does go to Pramac.
Yeah, he would definitely. I mean, unless if Ducati, he has a contract with Ducati and he's place him in Pramac. But another scenario that I've almost been theorising, I guess, is the likes of Marquez even on an Aprilia. Obviously, you know, they are looking strong this year. Not as strong as Ducati, but for example, Marc Marquez is just what Aprilia need to potentially win their first championship, just hypothetically, obviously.
Well,
there was always little rumours in the background because of the Red Bull connection. Obviously, Marquez, big Red Bull sponsorship, and obviously KTM, a big Red Bull sponsorship. So there was always that. I could see, like I can vision it in my head. I could see Marquez on a KTM. Would he go to KTM? I don't know, but obviously that there is that little connection with Red Bull where that could happen. Then, but you never know. I think the KTM did surprise quite a few people this weekend because I believe Binder was still had a little bit of a neck injury, and obviously Jack Miller did ride really well for his first weekend on the KTM as well. So I think that did surprise quite a few people, the KTM.
Yeah, Jack Miller, it surprised everyone. I think it surprised himself somewhat. He was a bit disappointed with his final main race result in 7th place. He thought it a bit more than that, and getting beaten by Brad Binder, who just seems to be the Sunday man at the moment. Probably of everyone on the grid, he seems to be that rider that just struggles on the one-lap qualifying and it makes all the places up in the race. But yeah, apart from Jack Miller in the actual sprint race and in qualifying, it looked like all the other KTM/gas machines were struggling. And I believe they were down in 19th, 18th position in qualifying. But Brad Binder made up the positions in the races to actually make it look not so bad over the course of the weekend. I think that we're going to see almost what we've seen for the past 1 or 2 years of KTM, where we're going to see inconsistent up and down results all season from them.
Yeah, definitely. But going back to Marquez, I don't think he'll be renewing his contract. I know, I think he's got, I'm not sure if it's the end of this year or the end of next year, but I don't think he'll be renewing it with Honda. I think his brother's out as a little spy at Ducati at the moment, so I think someone could be going on there.
I believe it's next year that his contract runs out.
Yeah. So, there will be people talking in the paddock, let's put it this way.
Well, we did discuss the possibility of maybe maybe Honda actually just wanted to get rid of him because if he's not, this is like his make or break year, really. You know, do they stick with him? Yeah, because he's not done much.
We might be thinking too early here because we have heard that Honda have called on Suter, is it, to
Kalex.
Kalex to make a new frame for them, so that could change the whole thing, and that is massive for the Japanese. You don't normally see the Japanese are very stuck in their ways. They make their own bike. That's how it works, and for them to be asking someone else to do it for him, that's a real big surprise. That is. So it'd be interesting. That bike might totally change once they change that chassis. So we never know.
Interesting. Let us know if you've got any theories about what will happen, if you've heard any rumours in the paddock, if you've got your ear to the ground, if, I don't know, you have relatives working in the paddock, then get in touch. Let us know at Motorsport Radio in all the socials and stuff. So standout performances in the main race in GP, Lewis, for you. Who were they and why?
Well, obviously Bagnaia, because he was the race winner and he looked so confident, especially on the final couple of laps. Maverick Vinales as well on the podium, and Marco Bezzecchi. There's obvious names, but Johan Zarco on that last lap was incredible. I mean, I think he made 3 or 4 positions on the final lap alone. It was just do or die from him, and it was something which you don't normally see Johan Zarco do, just to be that aggressive in a race. And hopefully this season we can see him finally get that first MotoGP race win, because he's been in MotoGP since 2017. He's looked so close so many times, and every single time he seems to either crash or something goes wrong with his bike. So yeah, hopefully Joan Zarco can just have that added momentum come through, because Jorge Martin, obviously his teammate, eventually did crash out the race, and I believe he has a broken toe out this weekend as well and a slight ankle injury. So yeah, mixed weekend for Prima Pramac Ducati, but Joan Zarco doing great.
Okay, Jay, same question for you. Any particular riders?
I think I said it earlier. I wasn't surprised by how well Alex Marquez did, but yeah, that battle for fourth was pretty hectic on those last few laps. He did well to hold the KTMs off. I know Zarco came through on the last lap, but yeah, Marquez and also Pozecki coming third. That was a real good result as well. Didn't finish far off the two front guys towards the end as well. Interesting with Viales as well. Obviously, we see Maverick. He doesn't really like a battle. A bit of a Casey Stoner. He likes to be on his own, set his own lap times and that. It would have been interesting to see how he would have done if the Marquez incident hadn't happened, because that really split the race up on those first few laps, and that allowed him and Bagnaia to get away. So it would have been interesting to see if he could have really taken the fight if that incident hadn't happened. But no less, a really good ride, and I'm sure Vinales is going to be really confident for Argentina, where last year we saw the Aprilia went really well.
If you haven't seen on social media, Paul has said or has been tweet, or someone's tweeted on his behalf, thanks for the love. I'll be back soon and stronger. Although it was accompanied with a picture which makes it look like he ain't coming back anytime soon. And he didn't look very strong, sat in his lying in his hospital bed. But
it'd be interesting with all these injuries and fewer people out if we will get any replacement rides for these guys. So obviously with Repsol Honda, with Marquez, there's probably a good chance. I don't know if we'll get Brad Binder. I forgot his name.
Paul.
Somewhere in my Bradle. Paul Bradle will come in for Marquez. I don't know who will get in for the Gas team. It'd be interesting to see if anyone does sit in for these teams while they're injured.
Yeah, I believe the rules are if a rider misses 2 races, the team has to find a replacement rider for them. So certainly this weekend they're going to be okay, but after that they're going to have to find someone. Certainly in Paul's case, and I don't really know who stands out at the moment. Maybe if they
I'm trying to think of someone who's out of a job at the moment.
Well,
I can't really think of anyone.
I know a couple of BSB champions who might be potentially available.
The problem is everyone's contracted to people now. You can't just walk away.
Yeah, but I mean, money helps things like that. So, and you know.
So mate, that'd be it, because obviously a gas is a KTM. Maybe we'll see Danny Pedrosa making a little bit of a comeback. So you never know.
Is that realistic?
Yeah.
So Danny Pedrosa is KTM's official test rider, so that would be the logical one. So yeah, that would be the one that you would expect.
All right, and I mean, maybe. I mean, it's only the start of the year. Don't forget, and anything could happen. Fingers crossed that not many other people also get injured, but these things do happen, and let's wait and see. Who knows? But
it's not like KTM haven't got a World Superbike team to call upon to bring a rider over. So yeah, I reckon it could be Danny Pedrosa, which would be good to see him come back.
Yeah, interesting one, that one. Yes, we will get on to talk about briefly anyway BSB and testing, and because they are officially testing today and tomorrow at Silverstone ahead of the first round next week. It's all kicking off already. It's I'm still stuck in like February. They were at Donington over the weekend. Not much running went in, or there was a disappointing amount or disappointing feedback, or basically it rained quite a lot and there wasn't really a lot going on. But and then on the day after, when everyone was packing up or going home, the sun came out. So that annoyed everybody. What, Jay?
It's just the same as every year, winter testing in British Superbikes. No, everyone goes and then no one goes out. So, yeah, it don't change much, really. I think today, were they at Silverstone today, was it?
Yeah, a couple of people were anyway. So
I think, it's hard testing in England, obviously, this time of year with the weather. But, it's just how it is. I think Josh Brooks had a little off today, but I'm not sure many of them went out on track today. If the weather was like it was where I live, I can't imagine many of them went out.
Well, I thought, until I just clicked on the TSL timing for the results for the Tuesday test session, the combined overall end of day test, that only maybe, 10 or so people went out, maybe, who knows. 26 riders went out on track for the sessions. 3 sessions in total. Josh Brooks, despite his crash, ended up fastest from the day. Kyle Ryde was in, is that definitely today, Silverstone? Yes, it is. Kyle Ryde, second quickest, 8/10 down. And Danny Bucket in third, Jason O'Halloran fourth, Peter Hickman fifth, and Kristen Idden in 6th place. There was some stock riders as well in there as well. So, yeah, not too many Superbikes, but since I'm looking on TSL, Donington at the weekend, the overall, when is this TSL? I'm just making sure I'm looking on the right day here. Donington, who was quick? I think Kyle Ryde was quickest, wasn't he? I'm not sure. Was he?
I believe it might have been.
Overall combined, Donington, Kyle Ryde quickest by 7/10 of a second. And he didn't bother going out for the first 4 sessions. Josh Brooks second over the weekend. And not many people, I think only like 2 or 3 people went out for the first 4 sessions. And session 5 and 6, most other people went out. But interesting one. So Kyle Ryde certainly up at the sharp end in testing in BSB. So what do you make of that, Lewis?
Yeah, he's carrying on the form from last season. Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect this year from OMG, but so far they've impressed me. Josh Brooks looking strong on the FHO, and all the times today at Silverstone were set in the 3rd session. Basically, there was in the morning, the first 2 sessions, it was only really a couple of riders that did go out and set a lap time and brave the conditions. But the 3rd session, definitely track conditions were much better. Lap times dropped by over 15 seconds, I believe. So Josh Brooks looking great. And I'm pretty excited this year, actually, to see how he does on the BMW, not only in BSB, but obviously he's doing the Ironman TT this season with the FHO squad. So, yeah, it looks good. Obviously, it wasn't just BSB out there today. The likes of the BMW F900R Cup was there as well, with a massive grid lineup. Obviously, the entry list was released last week, and a lot of riders turned up to testing.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be one to watch, let's say.
Yeah,
I think all of them have been a bit, let's say, put a pin in the balloon with Richard Cooper deciding he's going to do it. I would definitely, should we say, I think he might win every race?
Well, that's the general consensus. So as soon as it was announced, it's like, right, well, everyone might as well just pack up and go home. And the Cooper
he's going to have a lovely payday, because that bloody the cash prize is massive, isn't it? So he's going to love it, isn't he?
He did when he came on the show the other couple of weeks ago. We did ask him what else what did he actually say? Do you remember, Lewis? I don't remember exactly what he said.
Yeah,
he said he was doing something.
Say much. Yeah.
And then I might have asked him, "Are you doing anything else?" And he was like, "Maybe," which meant yes. And then we find out he's doing this BMW Cup, but I don't know if it's all going to be as guaranteed as everyone seems to. I think a lot of people are being a bit negative about his.
I'm very excited about the race series. I think the Ducatis had got a bit stale, so I think it is nice to have a new, fresh one-make series of BSB. But I've seen Richard Cooper on a CB 500, which is the same sort of bike but a lot modern version, and he's very quick on one of them. So I think he's going to be a hard person to beat. Let's put it that way. But there's a lot of what's great about this new championship. There's a bit like the pit bikes of Fab. There's such a wide variety of abilities and ages as well. We've got some people that are moving from British Talent Cup, and then you've got people who are vastly experienced. I think Michael Rutter's even going to do a few races on them this year. So it's going to be a really good championship to watch, I think.
Well, go on, Lewis.
I would agree with that. And just finishing off on the Richard Cooper thing. If, for example, there is them odd races where he does get beat by some riders, the amount of credibility it's going to give them riders, the amount of media response, and the amount of TV coverage it's going to get them is going to be amazing if they can beat Richard Cooper. So in some respects, it's almost a bonus if they have the pace to beat Richard Cooper, because it's going to make them look so good to all the other teams in the paddock.
And also, Richard Cooper is not the sort of rider who is going to, if he knows that he's got it and he's going to win this, he's not the sort of rider who's going to go first lap and just gap everyone by 10 seconds. He will have a play about and then last lap do what he needs to do, but he will make it look entertaining, and it's going to be an entertaining class anyway, even if it's not the battle for first place. So I think it's going to be a really good championship.
Entertaining different formats as well than potentially what we're used to. It's like sort of a knockout cup, not knockout, but I forgot what it is already.
Yeah, I think it's because of the grids are so big. They're having to do like a final qualify race to qualify for the main race sort of thing. So they did have to do it a few years ago when stock 600s and stock 1000s entries were so big.
Yeah, other bits of news as well. I'm just having a quick flick through things that have happened recently. OMG Racing, the Champions team, announced over the weekend or recently or yesterday, I forget when. Past few days have just been a blur, I've been ill. But OMG Racing announced finally that they have a new title sponsor, and it's a vape company, apparently.
Does this vape company actually exist, or is it like the energy drink?
I have actually had a can of Rich Energy, and it's Does it taste like any other energy drink company on the market? Let's move on.
It's a bit. Don't worry, there's made-up energy drinks in MotoGP as well. That Leopard team, I've never seen a can of that up sale either.
Well, I know where they're made in the bottling in the place in Austria. So, yeah. I mean, basically,
Rich Energy?
Yeah.
Leopard?
Maybe both of them. But basically, if you've got a bunch of money, you can just go to a company that makes these generic drinks and have your branding applied to it and ship it out and stuff.
I see. So I could get a Pit Bike Sonic Energy drink?
Yes, you could. If you had the money to make one. And it would taste remarkably similar to Rich Energy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on
KSI, watch out. It's Jamie King's cow, man.
And on that note, before we think any more about that, let's definitely move on.
Okay.
Right. Back to what we were talking about. Yeah, MotoGP. Okay.
What's the name of the vape company? Can you remember?
I've just clicked off it now, but it's Lamy or late. I'm going to say Lamy. Lamy. OMG Racing Yamaha. I think that's how I'm going to pronounce it until I'm told otherwise, because the other way just makes it sound a bit lame.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, Lamy OMG. Best of luck as well, guys, this year. The team's already been trolled by its former sponsor on Twitter.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but it was just I think because they're using the same colours as the black and gold. Yeah, but
maybe they didn't have enough money for new stickers, so they just had to peel the Rich Energy one off and then put the vape sticker on.
Who knows? But some enterprising person on the internet pointed out that Rich Energy is remarkably similar to the Gold Player, John Player Special Lotus, the black and gold Formula One car from the 1980s and stuff. So there you go. Right. Lewis, Moto 2 then, headlines.
Yeah, Philip Salich qualified on pole position with Chavasino Vietti serving his double long lap penalty from the last race of last year. Pedro Acosta and Aaron Canet battled for the race victory, with Pedro Acosta coming out on top on the final couple of laps of Aaron Canet, yet to seek his first race victory. Tony Arbolino joined him on the podium as well, starting from 8th position on the grid, with British rookie Rory Skinner finishing in 22nd, just over 45 seconds away from the leaders. So strong weekend from Rory, stayed on the bike, just got the data and got a finish under the board. Exactly.
He announced that. I've not even seen the team debrief on OnlyFans yet. I got distracted. I'm sure I'll get round to watching it at some point.
You got distracted on OnlyFans?
I can't recall, to be honest. I fell asleep shortly afterwards. I've been ill, see. So Jake Dixon, top 6 and Sam Lowes. The Brits together, those two anyway. And Rory Skinner, we're not putting too much pressure on him, obviously. Trying not to, certainly. At this early point. But Jay, did you watch Moto 2? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I watched Moto 2 because the English people didn't crash out on the first lap of Moto 2. So, I think Sam and Jake especially, they had the pace. But unfortunately, bad qualifying kind of hampered both of them because they both did come through the field really well. So if they can get their qualifying sorted, I think they can definitely run up the front. Both of them didn't get great starts. They were both down in I think it was 15th and 16th place on the first lap. So, but they both came through nicely. And was it 5th and 6th they both come? I think it was correct. So, I think it was more impressive for Lowes because he had a really bad time last year. And I think a lot of people probably said he didn't really deserve another try at it again this year, but he obviously showed that he can still run near the front in Moto 2, which we all know is an extremely hard class.
Lewis, for you, who overperformed in Moto 2 in the race and who underperformed?
My overperformer, well, I actually have two overperformers. Philip Salich in 4th. I just didn't expect it from what I've seen last season. I didn't expect him to get on pole position, and I didn't expect him really to be able to keep near the pace of the front runners. And Manuel Gonzalez as well in 5th position. He was really nowhere last season in his first year in the class with the VR46 Master Camp team. But this year he's straight on the pace in 5th place. And he's quite far ahead of his teammate Nozain, who's just coming into the class for his first full season this year. So, Gonzalez was overall probably my biggest surprise. And underperformer-wise, I would probably say Darren Binder, just because he crashed. And he didn't really need to be doing that his first weekend. He was inside the top 10, though. Joe Roberts as well in 14th position. Not really where we would expect him, because Joe Roberts, we seen him win there last year, although it was in strange circumstances. We seen him get in the podium as well. And that was pretty strange circumstances. So 14th position, pretty disappointing on the Italtrans bike.
Interesting. And over and underperformers for you, Jay?
I was going to say Joe Roberts the same as well. I was expecting a lot more from him, especially I think it's his 3rd season in Moto 2 this year. So I thought obviously it's only round 1. We've still got a hell of a lot more racing to go yet, but you expect him to crack on. He had a few, apart from that, obviously it was a bit of a lucky when he did have a few good performances last year. I think it was Catalonia. He was winning and crashed out of the lead.
Yeah.
I think, it was only first round. So, probably Joe Roberts was my underperformer. You got to say Pedro Acosta, but I did expect him to do well this season. And he really, the battle was really good, but you could see on those last few laps he just had a little bit more than Canet, and he just pulled that little gap towards the last 2 laps. So Pedro Acosta is my one to win the championship this season. It will be interesting to see if he gets that call up to MotoGP next year, as long as this season goes to plan for him as well.
Interesting. Okay. Right. So any other, just before we move on, Lewis, any other bits of stuff to mention about Moto2?
Yeah, a couple more bits. Ayogura missed the first race weekend due to an injury that he received in an off-season. I believe it was a motocross incident.
Oh, yeah. And that was announced just before the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they didn't have a rider to replace him. Well, in the Gas squad, Jordi Torres stepped in to replace the injured Garcia. Guevara, Garcia's teammate from last year. And he stepped in last minute as well, because Guevara, I believe, had chronic arm pump, I believe it was described as. So, yeah, he had to step in, tried to get that fixed before the next round. And Garcia finished in 15th position. But, yeah, it was a great Moto2 race, and it's great to see him back. And it's great to see battles up at the front again, because there was a couple of years where Moto2 was
stale.
A pretty stale class, yeah, I think that's fair to say. But now it's certainly got the punch to it. And I believe a lot of that excitement and viewership is for Pedro Acosta, because there's quite a lot of folk tipping him as potentially even the next Marc Marquez.
I think it has. I think the class has got a lot better since the Triumph engines are in. And I think they've upped the rev limit this year as well by about 400 RPM. So I think that has helped us a lot. So, Pedro Acosta, I think, is going to be something special. I think he's the next, shall we call it alien? I think he's the next, he's going to be the next special one. It'd be interesting to see where he goes. Obviously, if this season goes well, where he'll go next season. Obviously, I think KTM are going to do a lot to hold tight to him, but there's so many riders and so little seats in MotoGP. Like we said, we haven't even mentioned one person in MotoGP yet. He was so quiet all weekend, and we barely heard his name mentioned. We didn't even mention Quartararo. What a really bad weekend it was for him, to be honest with you. It was just that Yamaha, is it good enough? And Morbidelli as well. Like, literally, I know he had a bad season last season, but it's not got any better from the first round this season either. So we might have to go talk about that for a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, let's say the underperformers have the grace period of it being just the first round, and sometimes there's weird results being thrown up. Maybe I'm being a bit too generous, considering... I don't know. I
just think it's going to be even harder for Quartararo now. Yamaha have only got one team. I mean, are we going to see the bike get? Everyone's going to improve, and Yamaha have kind of got to jump 2 steps ahead to catch everyone else up. I think it's going to be really difficult. So yeah, I don't know what to say really for Fabio. You can see his confidence looks really low as well. So yeah, it's going to be hard for him, but he's a great rider. We might see him pull it out.
Well, nothing's guaranteed. Doesn't mean that the others are going to streak away. He might just, if he just stays on the bike while everyone else gets injured.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. Obviously, with these sprint races this year, there's a hell of a lot of races, so it can change all the time. But I like Fabio. I hope he can get it sorted, because he's a big personality in the paddock, and you could see he just looked a bit down at the weekend.
Well, yeah, not much to be excited about, I suppose. All right, so moving on then to Moto3, Lewis, and again, if you just give us the headlines, the news from what happened at the weekend in Moto3.
Yeah, so Yu Sasaki was on pole position, repeating what he did last season by showing a strong performance in the first round of the year. But in the race, it would be Daniel Holgado who would take the race win for the Red Bull KTM Tech 3 squad. David Munoz continued to show his pace and his aggression to take the second position. And Diego Moreira joined them on the podium. And Moreira this season has been tipped by many MotoGP riders as the favourite Jose Antonio Rueda, the first rookie in the classifications, was fourth, with Masia in fifth, which I believe Masia is still recovering from a high side incident in pre-season testing. And there were 5 riders under 0.3 of a second at the line on the final lap. But the biggest drama probably came in the race after the checker flag, with Australian Joe Kelso crashing into the back of the race winner and flying up in the air and breaking his leg.
Woo. Blimey. Yeah, an interesting one. I was just having a quick look at how the Brits got on. Josh Watley in qualifying. Trying to think where he started. He wasn't. Well, I don't know. How would you rate his quali performance, Watley? A bit of an improvement, yeah. Sorry, Lewis. Overall, Josh Watley is showing pace early on straight away. Last season, it seemed that he took a bit longer to build up to his times, but yeah, I mean, he was ahead of some big names like Romano Fenati, who's returning to the class this season. That's probably quite a big achievement. How the hell has he got
that right?
I thought that there was an age limit in Moto3.
Yeah, there's 28. It must be right on it now.
He's older than me.
How he's got to manage. I always thought if you'd gone to... Because Danny Kent did it, and then he got told, no, you can't go back to Moto3 anymore. And because he wanted to go... Because he had a bad season in Moto2, and he did want to go back to Moto3 again, Danny Kent. And he got told, no, he can't do it. So I do not know how Fenati has got away with going back to it for, I believe, a third time. So, yeah God knows.
Well, apparently he's only 27. I don't know. So... that'll be why, maybe.
Yeah, so... But Danny Kent did win the Moto3 Championship, so maybe that's the reason they didn't let him go back. So, don't know. But, let's just say I think there's more other deserving people who should have got that right. But, hey-ho, I suppose he's probably bringing money to the team or something like that. So, that's probably why he's got it.
Yeah, well, in the race, anyway, in Moto3, it was... Josh Watley finished P21, and Scott Ogden,
crashed out in the first lap.
Not ideal.
I think that's down to, once again. Obviously, we know how hard it is qualifying in Moto3, and especially if you have to go through that first qualifying as well to get to the second one. I think that's probably what lets Scott down. I think he probably either got a bit flustered on that first lap, and it just obviously crashed out. Hopefully he's all right for the next round. He seemed to get up. He had a bit of a hobble, but hopefully he's okay, ready for Argentina. But I'm not going to lie, when I saw Scott went down, I kind of fast-forwarded it to the end of the race. So I didn't watch much of the rest of it, unfortunately, because I'm a big Scott fan, obviously coming from Fab. I wanted to see him do well, so I was a bit disappointed when I saw him go out on the first lap.
Yeah, well, Josh Watley, also a Fab Racing graduate as well, and
probably the most famous Fab race of all time between them two.
Exactly, yeah, and that still plays on Motorsport Radio right now. You can even find it on the website motorsport.radio.
At Mallory Park, I believe.
Mallory Park, 2016, and it's Tom Brooks commentating as well. Tom Brooks, who you'll hear a lot more of on BSB coverage this year. Oh. If anyone doesn't know that.
Was he with Duncan this year, or is he doing his own thing? Oh no, he'll be on Eurosport, I guess, Tom, won't he?
I believe he'll be covering most of the support races. I believe. So I don't know if that was official. I've said it now anyway.
Oh. Well, it is now.
You heard it here.
Yeah. But hey-ho, unless I'm very much mistaken, of course. But Anna Carrasco in Moto3.
Yeah, it was a disappointing first round, not really picking up the pace too much from last year. I mean, in qualifying, she was a bit further up the pace, I think that's fair to say. But yeah, Anna Carrasco is still lacking what she needs, I guess. I mean, she is a world champion, 2018 World Supersport 300 champion, so she clearly has pace, But ever since I believe she broke her back
that was
in a certain place, so she had to get some surgery, and ever since then, she's not been able to pick up the pace from where she was before. So I really want to see Anna do well, but I would say this season is going to be make or break for her, especially whenever in the race, as you said, she finished 23rd in last position out of the finishers, and her teammate was in second position, and he's at the age of 17-year-old, and he's in second position. So yeah, it's a direct comparison, and the first person that you want to beat is your teammate.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to her, she was only 1/10 behind the penultimate last person, and she was in that pack fighting for. She was in with and behind Josh Watley, so they were all together ultimately. I think the bottom 5 or 6 riders were all together with Fanati, so she could have finished 19th if she'd have. But she didn't. So
yeah, even 19th though, compared to Munoz, who's in second at the moment with less racing experience, it's still not where you want to be. But hopefully this season will pick up for Anna, because it'll be great to see her, do well, inspire more women, and get more women into the Moto3 paddock. So exactly. It's great to see what she's doing, but yeah, hopefully her results can pick up as the season goes on, because it is a long season, 21 races this year, still 20 to go.
You're right there, Murray. And that was the only reason why I mentioned Anna, is because we want her to do well, really, not because she finished last. So, hopefully she can continue to inspire lots of other female riders and female racers. And where they end up, where they start out is places like Fab Racing as well. And, we may hopefully see a female winner this weekend. I don't know who it's going to be, but we've got a few girls this year, I think, in Fab. So there's definitely a few newcomers in the rookies. We've got Taylor Lawrence's sister is moving to pit bikes this year, so we're going to have a lady in the pit bike class this year. Good stuff. And I think Chloe Gleason, I think she's stepping up to a GP 50 this year, and be good to see how she gets on. But yeah, we will follow the progress all weekend. 50 live races, Lewis, we'll be commentating on all weekend, and by the end of the Monday he'll be like so frazzled and exhausted, he'll be like, I know. But 50 live races, so yeah, think about that whenever you it's very physical. Not many people understand how physical and mentally challenging doing commentary is. They just think, it's just... There's a reason I said no to that free tech commentary you wanted me to do. Well, because you were going on the piss. That's why, not because... Yeah. You only turn 30 once. Yeah, okay. I don't have anything funny to say about that. I turned 30, but anyway. Back to the Moto3. Yeah, a shout out to Dennis Onchu. It weren't quite a Pedro Acosta where he started from the pit lane and won at Qatar. I think that was the first race of last season he did that, wasn't it? But he did come through to come 10th place. So I thought that was quite impressive. So I think I'm going to tip that maybe for Argentina we're going to finally see Dennis Onchu win his first Moto3 race, because he's come so close. I think maybe Argentina we'll see his first race win.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, anyway. He deserves it. He's one of the more aggressive riders, I think that's fair to say. Yes, definitely. There's been a couple of occasions where we may have seen him take a race win, but he's just been overly aggressive. But yeah, we've also seen plenty of ride. Almost half the paddock in the Moto3 grid is aggressive, and that's the way you have to ride in Moto3. Some of them sometimes overly aggressive. Not naming any names, but for example, Romano Fanati in the past, obviously, which is replacing Andrea Minio this year in the Snipers team. And obviously, Minio was left without a ride, but Lorenzo Fullon didn't even start the race due to a shoulder injury, and he's getting surgery on that now for the CIP Green Power rider, which means now in the past couple of hours anyway, it's been announced that Andrea Migno will return to the Moto3 grid and will race that Green Power bike and will replace Lorenzo Fullon until he's better. So, yeah, although Romano Fenati took someone's grid spot, it looks like they're going to be back on the grid this year.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see who takes Kelso's ride, because I can't imagine he's going to be back for a few rounds either with a broken leg. So, yeah, there's going to be another replacement rider in for him as well. So, a lot of replacements in all these classes so far this season.
Yeah.
One rider that in Moto3 I normally keep an eye on just to see... basically, I've been waiting for him to do something really good for a while, and that's Riccardo Rossi. A lot of people have him in their minds as being potentially one of the like a bit of an Acosta figure, maybe. But I think he finished something like 15th. I'll check anyway. But didn't quite work out for him, did it, Lewis?
Yeah, it didn't really quite work out, especially from what we've seen in pre-season tests. And he topped one of the days at the Portimao test. So Riccardo Rossi just a little bit off. But saying that, he was in 15th position, but it was less than 10 seconds away from the race win. So he wasn't too far off when if you look at it time-wise. But he got his teammate bet him, Kaito Toba, who... It surprised me this year, actually, on the Sync 58 Squadra Corsa Honda bike. And the Hondas in general this year has surprised me, even in pre-season testing. Like you said, Riccardo Rossi doing well and Messia also doing well. The Hondas this year look to have brought someone to the KTMs. Although the KTMs have locked out the top four, I still believe the Hondas later on in the season are going to give it more of a fight, certainly, than what they did last season.
Okay, and same question in Moto3, Lewis, for you, who, if anybody, sort of overperformed and who underperformed in the race, did you think?
So underperformer has to go to Romano Fenati, just because even whenever he was in Moto3 for his last stint with the Max Biaggi Husqvarna team, he was at the front winning races. Even whenever I went to see it at Silverstone in 2021, he destroyed the field and just ran away with it. It's something that you don't normally see in Moto3. So he's a great Moto3 rider, but he's sitting there down in 19th position on a pretty decent bike, on the Snipers team bike. So, yeah, I don't really know what's happening there at the moment. And overperformer at the moment, I would say Jose Antonio Rueda, just because he's a rookie, first ever race in 4th position. So, yeah, he's looking strong. Obviously, Rueda is a rider which, if you haven't been keeping up with the junior categories, which is just below Moto3, like the likes of Junior GP and Red Bull Rookies, he won the Red Bull Rookie Championship last season and he won multiple races in the Junior GP, both on different manufacturers, weekend in, weekend out, and he still was strong on both the KTM and the Honda. So he's such a talented rider, and his first weekend in 4th. So, yeah, I would say him as overperformer.
Okay, and same question to you, Jay. Anyone?
Even though I did skip most of the race, I'd say underperformer the same. Fenati, and my overperformer was probably the most unluckiest person because he's landed up with a broken leg. He qualified really well, Kelso, and even though he did drop back towards the end of the race, he was still in that front group. Even though he was at the back of it, I think he did come 9th place before we crashed after the line. So yeah, Kelso did really well. I thought, obviously with a new team as well, with the CF Moto team. So yeah, I was quietly surprised with him, but obviously we're not going to see him for a couple of rounds now because he's now gone and spanned himself.
Okay, interesting. So next race is this weekend. Yes. Argentina, yeah. I've been so focused on
those poor teams. Must have had to pack those lorries up so quickly because I've heard my brother works Alpine Star with MotoGP and he says it's the worst track to get to, that Argentina one. I think he says he has to, 3 flights to get there. So it must be really hard work getting all of those bikes and all of that gear over to Argentina in such a short period of time.
I'm sure they'll all do it. They'll make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a couple of times last season where they were a little late and they had to delay sessions and that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because things didn't get to places on time. So
there was at Argentina last season, there was a freight delay for half of the grid's equipment, and they had to delay. Well, no, they had to cancel all the mornings running on Fridays at Argentina. So yeah, that was the time where we went from, I believe it was Aragon to Argentina weekend, and it was something like it was at the start of the season. We went from Qatar to Argentina, and there was a weather delay, and then later on in the season there was also a delay where we went from Europe, I believe it was Aragon, to Japan, and then there was some more weather delays, and then there was some freight delays there as well. So yeah, a very, very tight schedule this year, and it's going to be inevitable at some point, especially if there's 21 weekends. We're going to have hiccups like that, and unlike last season where we had free practice sessions which actually matter for your qualifying position, this year we only have 2. So if something like that was to happen, it would be even more impactful for the sprint race.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, a lot of hard work for all the teams getting everything to Argentina. But, yeah, it's going to be... I like the Argentina track. It always brings good racing, so it should be good.
Right, so let us know what you think about Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP. Get in touch, have your say. Who did well? Who's underperformed? Who should stay? Who should go? Who's going to do what next year? And is Marc Marquez going to be on a Ducati? Let us know. Get in touch at Motorsport Radio. Drop your comments in the comments box below. And right, let's move quickly on, because I don't think we'll be doing a full 2 hours just chatting here. But I want to mention as well, and just get your thoughts, guys, on the Red Bull Rookies Cup as well, the first round of 2023 that happened at the weekend. And there was a bumper contingent of Brits and former British Talent Cup racers in the championship this year. There's Casey O'Gorman, who we've been talking about, and there's been also Rhys Stevenson and Eddie O'Shea as well as that's it in terms of Brits and Irish, but also Cormac Buchanan, also one-time British Talent Cup racer as well. And I think that's everyone who's raced over here in recent years so far anyway. And did you watch the races, Lewis?
I watched Saturday's race anyway. Sunday I was at Knockhill of that much reception in the snow, so yeah, I didn't manage to catch up on that just yet, but that's my plan for the week. But yeah, in race 1, Casey O'Gorman, I think the highlight was that he got highlight in some cases that we got a great race. First of all, it was super close between the front runners, but Casey O'Gorman went from battling for the race lead on the outside in second position, looking like he could have won the race, and then all of a sudden he was down to forfeits. Exactly what we see in Red Bull Rookies every single round. But yeah, it's great to see Brits back at the front, and it's great to see these riders racing really, really clean. I mean, we didn't see as much weaving and stuff like we've seen in previous years. Even in Moto3, we haven't seen as much weaving as what we've potentially seen in the past, and as much dangerous riding. But yeah, it was a great weekend, great racing, and unlucky for Casey O'Gorman not to get a race win or even a podium out of it. He looks really, really disappointed on social media, but yeah, that's the way that racing goes sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, he will be one of the people in future, maybe at the next round, who will benefit from that type of racing, where he'll, instead of being up at the front, being a target to be overtaken, which is basically what happened, he might want to just sit closely behind on the last lap and do it. But, you know, the red mist takes over, and you want to be out front as much as possible, don't you, Jay? But
I haven't done any of that in a long while.
Who knows? Maybe this weekend. Maybe. Will you be even racing against Casey O'Gorman this weekend?
No, because he'll do extreme, won't he? I did think about doing 3 classes this weekend, but the extreme and the moto team are back to back with each other, and I can't do 2 races back to back. I'm 32 now. I'm getting too old for this.
32. Jesus. Okay. Plus, you've got all that beer to enjoy as well at the weekend. So
Yeah, I've been told by Roger and Rob we need to calm down on the old beer. So apparently they have a breathalyzer now.
I don't think they need one, to be honest.
Well, I don't think many of the sidecars will be going out if they breathalyse them before a race, let's put it that way.
Anyway, but where's the nearest Weatherspoons anyway? Jay loves
There isn't one in Leeds. There isn't a Weatherspoons in Leeds. We have to go to, there's a nice restaurant by the beach, so we go there at Leeds.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. We're staying in a Camber Sands.
Caravan.
Camber Sands mobile accommodation.
I'm sure I'll be picking a load of you up in the back of my van.
Fair enough, okay. Right, so yes, sorry, Red Bull rookies. Casey O'Gorman. Yes, he got a couple of fourth places, and obviously he's disappointed. Yeah, I mean,
from what I saw, I didn't watch the races, but from what I saw from the timesheets, it was literally like there was nothing going across the line. It was literally like 1/10 of a second between about four people. I'm guessing it was like slipstream to the lines sort of thing.
I didn't see race 2 at all. I was fast asleep, and I only saw highlights of race 1. But yeah, I don't know, because I didn't even see the whole race. But yeah, it didn't. I don't think he's got anything to be disappointed about, Casey. He's up at the place where he needs to be. He's up at the front end, showing his potential. People talking about him, obviously. He'll be back racing again this weekend here on Motorsport Radio, where you can watch and listen to his racing exploits. Last year, he also appeared at Lyd for round 1, and I think he was racing with Sullivan Mounsey in the Extremes. I think he had a couple of good races, but one of them he crashed out of the lead. There
was an oil leak in his bike, and he crashed at the final corner.
Yeah, something like that, or exactly that.
I would have thought Sullivan would be there as well for this first round. He was out in Spain with us on his Conti/CRF bike, so I reckon he'll be at first round at Lyd as well.
Okay, we will see. I don't know, I'll ask him. But Reece Stevenson as well, don't know what happened, but he DNF'd or something happened anyway, according to the website. It doesn't actually give me a proper MotoGP style list of all the results. It just gives you like a little thing if you've gone to the Red Bull Racing, well, the Red Bull website anyway. It's a very basic results thing. So Reece Stevenson, fantastic that he's even there, to be honest. And he absolutely deserves it. And he will be back in the British Talent Cup, the RNG British Talent Cup this year. Once again, hopefully he can do every round. Maybe not though, but yeah, it'd be fantastic to see him back racing over here and over in Europe as well in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. And Eddie O'Shea again, don't know what happened with that. Lewis, do you know anything?
He's still suffering from his injuries, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still suffering a little bit from his injury, and his left leg is still lacking, I believe, blood flow is the main issue with it right now. And Reece Stevenson, this weekend, it was just a learning weekend, I would say, for him. I mean, he just tipped off it in race 1 at turn 11, I believe it was, just took the front, slid away and into the gravel he went. But he did remount and in race 1 and just tried to get a finish in. But yeah, Eddie O'Shea still struggling from that injury that he picked up last season, and that looks to be hindering him just a bit, retiring from both races.
Okay, well, good luck to everybody for the next race, which is at the end of next month, so in 4 weeks or so, and that'll be in Jerez, I think, if I've memorised that. Yeah, there we go. We talked a bit about BSB, we talked about Red Bull Rookies Cup, Moto 3, 2 and MotoGP. Anything that we've not quite mentioned in terms of racing that we need to mention? I forgot.
Leon Haslam's got his own team now. I'm guessing it's his own team, his own BMW team, I see. So that's about it, really. That's all that I've seen come out recently. So even though it was the worst kept secret in the world. But
yeah, we did say
I think he got
that. I think part of our theory was that he went to Navarra testing to try and entice some sponsors in, potentially. This might be true or not, I don't know, but when he just turned up on a BMW, everyone was like, "Oh, what's he doing here then? Is he running his own team? Is he doing, has he got anything to announce?" We thought maybe he was showing his pace, pitching himself to potential sponsors to finish a deal off and then announce something, which is coincidentally what ended up happening. So,
be interesting to see how he does, because obviously he had a bit of a disappointing year, really. It'd be interesting to see, has age caught up with him, or can he still compete for the championship?
He was quick at Navarra, anyway, Haslam, and Silverstone the day was just lacking the pace slightly, but I don't think anyone was really pushing today at Silverstone. I don't think you can really look at the times too much, but also in BSB, since we've done the last show, I believe, it was announced that Astro JJR Racing will enter a Suzuki into the Supersport Championship this season, a 750cc GSX-R, so there will be a Suzuki and British Championship this year, although not factory supported.
Yeah, I find that, I noticed because I was watching the Daytona 200 and they had a lot of 750s in there because they only run 600s at Daytona, and there was a lot of Suzuki 750s being run, so they must put a limiter on it, I guess, or something like that. I'm not sure. So
it's essentially the next generation regulations because it's an FIM series, so it'll be the same as what's going to be in BSB this year, pretty much, with the Ducatis and Triumphs, etc.
Okay,
it'll be interesting to see how Benjamin Curry does on that Oxford Ducati this year. So it's going to be an interesting year in Supersport, especially without Jack Kennedy there. It really opens it up to someone else taking the championship.
We will have a bit of, we'll try as best we can to recover from Monday's racing to even do a show. It's unlikely, in all honesty, that we're going to be doing a show on Tuesday because, little Lewis, he needs his rest, see. And he's got like a 12-hour journey back up to Scotland on a coach, of all things. I'm not even exaggerating. It is probably like literally a 12-hour journey.
Overnight coach.
Yeah. So, yeah, literally. That's the level of commitment you've got to have, especially if you live in, like, the Hebrides or Dumfries. Same thing.
That's dedication, that is.
Dedication is what you need, kids, to succeed in life. Anyway, live racing this weekend on Motorsport Radio. First round of the championship on the Fab Racing Mini Bikes British Championship, which is on the road to MotoGP, and you can hear and watch all the action live right here on motorsport.radio. And also this weekend, if you're a fan of IndyCar, we've got live NTT IndyCar Series race coverage on motorsport.radio, thanks to our IndyCar Radio Network affiliates. Or we are the affiliate of the IndyCar Radio Network. And you can tune into live coverage of all the sessions all weekend of IndyCar, and in between then it's Fab Racing, and hopefully we won't overwork Lewis with his 50 races of commentary. And will we see him commentate on a J. King victory in one of his races? Who knows?
You never know. The weather's meant to be hit and miss, so you never know. We'll see. If we've got some wet races, you never know. And it looks like we are going to have a lot of wet races at Lids, so it'd be interesting. We'll see.
Excuses in early. There you go. But it's the same conditions for everyone. So I don't know, maybe we'll see team, what did you call it earlier, your team name?
Pinky and the Brain. Yeah, well, we've got to defend our Moto Team Championship, haven't we? So, yeah, we might win some races on that one.
Pinky and the Brain.
We'll see.
So
we'll see. Sean's not too good in the rains, so I'll take the wet races, and he can have the dry races.
Interesting. Okay, and for anyone wishing to get involved in Fab Racing, Lewis, how can they get involved?
Yeah, so they can head over to the Fab Racing website, or they can message to the Fab Racing Facebook page, or even Jay King here in Superbike Show. He'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about Fab Racing from 6 years old.
Yeah, just Mither Jay King.
Yeah, Mither Jay King. Message him and ask him where to go from that. I'm sure Jay will be happy enough to tell you all about it.
Exactly. And if any competitors, any riders are tuned in, listening, do get your headshots as well in for the live stream coverage.
I'll put the final chance up tonight on the Facebook page.
Exactly. So, if you don't do any of that, then you can't come complaining that, how come my face isn't on the coverage? Well, you didn't send me your face picture and stuff. So, anyway, little rant over with. So, good luck to everyone racing this weekend at Fab Racing. We'll be there covering it all live. And, Lewis, I'll see you I'll see you there then. Jay, I'll see you there. And we may or may not, I don't know, we should record something while we're actually there. Maybe a mini Superbike show for next week or something. Looking ahead, or just doing something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But, no show next week. No live show anyway, I don't think, because we'll be recovering. But the week after, we might just have a few BSB riders on, talking about what happened at the first round at Silverstone. Ooh. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. Been a pleasure once again. And Jay and Lewis, thank you very much for coming on. And
thank you for having me back.
It's all right. Yeah, and thank you for listening. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Awesome, right?
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.